The Grand Illusion, or Grand Illusion, or Le Grand Illusion, or however you pronounce it in French. Very interesting little movie. I really enjoyed it. It is a World War One prison escape movie. A couple French officers are captured by the Germans, and they're treated kindly in one camp, almost escape it by building a tunnel, but then they get moved to another camp in which they find their original captor is leading the camp, and one sacrifices himself so that the other and a third member of their group can escape. And it's a very, very strong movie, very good war movie. It reminded me a lot of The Great Escape, which I'm sure it influenced The Great Escape, especially the tunnel digging. And it was just an enjoyable movie to watch. I like war movies when there's no actual war. It kind of shines a different light on everything. It's just really interesting knowing that it came out just before the Second World War started. So, like, you see these, like, oh, they're captured, they're going to a POW camp. What kind of, like, brutal situations is it? Oh, they're allowed food from outside, and they just kind of sit around and play cards and read all day. And it's like, oh, that's, like, really simple conditions, except for, like, solitary, but the normal living conditions, it's like a camp. It was, like, really weird, knowing what would come after. It was just very good. There were hints of other movies, like in Casablanca, that scene where they sing the French national anthem. That was pulled from this movie, but I think this movie did it better. I know that scene is really powerful in Casablanca, but in this one, it's a really interesting scene. They're doing this like cabaret talent show in their on-site theater at their prison camp, which I never thought I'd say those words. And midway through like this song and dance number, the guy runs in. He's like, "The French have retaken this fort," and just everyone stands up and just starts singing the French national anthem, and they just turn and stare at the German officers that are right there. And it's this really strong moment, really powerful scene that like really hit me. I think that might have been my favorite scene in this film. The only thing I have with it is, hey, will you shut up? It's Mallow yelling all of a sudden. The only issue I have with it is I feel like it should have ended after they escaped from prison. Because the last half hour of it feels very different from the first hour and a half. I like the 90-minute mark about the names are escaping me because I don't remember French names well at all. But the one prisoner sacrifices himself for the other two, and there's this really strong scene where he and the head of the camp are talking, and they're very civil towards each other, and they're almost like siblings the way they talk to each other. And the German basically tells him, like, "I was aiming for your legs, I missed." And he's like, "No, it was fine, I was running and it was foggy and it was long distance." He's like, no, I was sloppy, I didn't mean to hit you in the stomach and kill you," basically. It's like this really interesting conversation they have about their position as like aristocrats and how it's disappearing as the war rages on. And I feel like the movie could have ended there. They could have just cut straight from that to the last shot of the movie with the other two escaping into Switzerland. I don't think it needed that last chunk where they meet the German woman on her farm, and like there's like a romance angle. It felt thrown in. I know this is a classic film and I really enjoyed this movie, but if they would have made that exact same story choice today, it would be lambasted for like shoving in a romance angle in the last 10 minutes of the movie, like just padding out the length. That's what it felt like to me. But besides the film itself, the story behind the actual physical like negatives of the film is interesting as well. And this movie was released in, I think, 1938 in France, which you may notice is just, a few months or years prior to the Germans entering France. And Goebbels ordered that negative be destroyed, and it was believed destroyed for years, decades. But it was really just swapping hands between collections and libraries of film, and it turned up, I want to say in like 70s or 80s. I haven't seen like a specific thing. So it's just really interesting that like this film was also kind of escaping like war prisons in a sense. It's just kind of nice like little mirror between reality and film. I appreciate that. Tomorrow, I'm gonna look at a movie called Greed. When I first started doing this, I briefly considered doing a bit at the end of every tape where I say, like, I try to, like, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, like, today's movie to tomorrow's movie, and then I decided that's really stupid and I'm never gonna continue doing that, but it's really easy for this one. From Grand Illusion to Greed. Grand Illusion, one of the stars is Eric von Stonheim, who is the director of Greed. So, perfect. 1 degree of separation. I can pull that one off. So I'm watching that tomorrow, silent film, classic. But until then...